Namo Namo Uvachayanam Namo 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 Loye Savasahuram Namo Loye Savasahuram Eso Panchanamokara Sava Pava Parashara Mangalancha Sarvesim Pratamam Have Mangalam Pratamam Have Mangalam Pratamam Have Mangalam.
Thank you very much, Parugman. That was wonderful. Over to you, Sandeep Bhai.
Jai Jinendra, everyone. This term I haven't been able to attend most of the classes, stories on Uttaradiyan, stories from Uttaradiyan Sutra, but I'm sure you've probably found it, great, very informative, great for reflection, great for consideration. So before I start, I would like, I don't know, have you all of you consistently been attending the classes? So those who have been consistently attending, how do you find them? How did you, what did you find which was interesting? What did you find that you learned or you found inspirational? Anyone? No, there's only 4 of you. So, I mean, there's only 3 of you. So one of you needs to speak.
There was one about, hi Sandeep.
Hi.
There was one about Meg Kumar, I think a while ago, probably in the beginning, or I can't remember. And that was quite interesting. I haven't attended all of them, but
yeah, no, fair enough.
I found that very interesting, how he had just decided to become a sadhu, and then he had problems, and then he realized about his past and all that,
Yeah. So all these stories, basically, as I'm sure you've been told, Uttaradiyan Sutra was the last sermon of Mahavir Swami, and in that period of time, which was for 48 hours, he was asked a lot of questions by Gautam Swami. There's a whole conversation between Keshi Kumar and Gautam Swami as well. But the important thing was that all these stories are mainly learning and inspirational. So today we are going to look at chapter 22 of the, sorry, I need to share the screen, but I'm not being allowed.
Sorry, Sandeep, I'll make you host. Sorry.
Yeah, I think you need to make me a host. So, yeah, for today we are going to look at chapter 22 of the Uttaradiyan Sutra. Now, the Uttaradiyan Sutra, as I said, tells us that human life is rare and difficult to attain. And it is in the human life that you can get ultimate happiness. And hence it is necessary to make the best use of it. So all the stories that you have been listening to are all pertaining to these 3 things. And that one must try to enrich it with the highest human values and enlightenment, leading to perhaps an ascetic life, which may be a better life of internal happiness. So it tells us things which are rare. Human life, as we know, is very rare. even rarer is sermons of the jinas. To listen to the sermons of the jinas, to read about them is rare. And also rational visions or samyak drashti or samyak darshan is very rare. And of course, the samyak aprikaya charitra or sayam is even more difficult. So this is what Uttradhyan Sutra talks about. And this is what all these stories pertain to. And they are all supposed to perhaps elevate our lives, our thinking from the more mundane to something which is a bit more uplifting, a bit more spiritual, a bit more inward looking, as opposed to outward looking as far as the world is concerned. And this is what all these stories inspire us to do. So today's story, as I mentioned, is chapter 22, which is called Rathnemi. Now, it's very interesting. You know, I was thinking that why is the chapter actually called Rathnemi? Because as you will find out, you know, the main person in this whole story, there is mention of Shri Krishna Vasudev. There is a mention of Arishthanemi or Neminath Prabhu, but the chapter is called Rathnemi. So who was Rathnemi? So first of all, there was King Samudra Vijay, who had his queen Shiva Devi, and they ruled over Soryapur. They had 4 sons, Arishthanemi, Rathnemi, Satyanemi, and Dhridanemi. And they were, of course, cousins of Krishna and Balram. So Krishna and Balram were the sons of the younger brother of King Samudra Vijay. Arishthanemi was young, and he was not interested in worldly matters, but his parents wanted him to get married. Now, all parents, as you know, want their children to get married and settle and maybe sort of have children and basically extend the family line. But this is Arishthanemi from young was not interested, because if you read about Arishthanemi's previous life, he had already bound the Tirthankar Nam Karma in his previous life, and he was destined to be a Tirthankar in this life. So Shri Krishna gradually enticed Arishthanemi to get married to Rajimati, who was the spelling mistake, daughter of King Ugrasen of Bhoj dynasty. Now, all of this was happening near Junagadh, right, which is Girnar. And she was absolutely beautiful, Rajmati. And he thought that Krishna thought that they would make an ideal match. And initially Arishthanemi was not very keen. He was not very interested. But with his wife, Shri Krishna created a situation where they presented various worldly beauties in front of Arishthanemi and gave him all the possible virtues, or not possible benefits, of being married. And so Arishthanemi agreed. But the thing that was interesting was that, no matter how much we plan, no matter how much we arrange, no matter how much, we try to think that whatever we have planned will go according to plan, it never goes according to plan. So there you are. Just visualize a situation where Arishthanemi is about to get married. There is a huge procession. The bride's family has come, and the groom obviously is going to make an entry. He has all the various hundreds and hundreds of people who are following him. He was obviously on an elephant, and there were elephants following him. Lots of singing and dancing and lots of colors and music and all the things that go with marriage. But what happened was that as he was going, he saw a lot of animals, as you can see in this picture,
Sorry,
tied up
Sandeep,
on the
I
side.
think we're still on the first slide. I think we're not moving on
Sorry? Oh,
the slide yet.
oh, what happened? Hold
I think
on.
we need to move on to the third slide, I think. Or have you?
Let me try again. Can you see now?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what had happened. Sorry about that. So as you can see in the picture, there is a big procession, a wedding procession coming. And as you can see on the side, there are lots of animals in various pens or enclosed areas. And what happened was that as he was approaching, sorry, I'm trying to do the next slide. As he was approaching, can you see this? Hello?
Yeah, I think we can.
Yeah, okay, because I wasn't sure whether you could. So as he was approaching, he heard these animals' cries remember, there was a lot of noise from the procession, the shehnais, the drums and all of that. And he still heard the cries of these animals. So he asked the Mahut that, what is happening? Why are these animals in these cages? So the Mahut said that these animals have been brought because a number of people in your Jan are meat eaters, and therefore these animals will be slaughtered to feed them. Now, remember that at that time, a lot of the kings used to eat meat. They were not all vegetarians. And what happened with Arishtanemi was, and last week Hinaben talked about Nimit and Upadan. And so these animals which were there became Nimit. But in Upadan, that means his internal preparedness was already there. And of course, his karmas had been, shed quite substantially. So there was this inner realization that what is this all about? And immediately he turns the elephant. He tells the Mahut to turn the elephant back. So as you can see from the picture, the elephant is going against the procession that is coming. And he turns the elephant and he says, I am not interested in this wedding where there is so much violence which is committed. And at that moment, he realized that this worldly life is not for him. Now, I want us to pause here and just think that, it takes somebody, and there are a lot of such cases in Jain history, including in Buddhism. I mean, Buddha himself, when he saw the old man and he saw the sick person and the dead person, and the same thing happened here. So these are basically incidences which happen, but the souls that are inspired or what triggers the souls to take this massive step requires a tremendous amount of inner faith and inner conviction. And that's a quality which what Jain, our Jain leaders or Jain spiritual masters tell us is something that we need to nurture. This absolute courage of your own conviction, this absolute inner strength that this is not what I want. So Arishtanemi basically turns back. He goes and he takes Diksha. So he basically goes into the forest and takes Diksha. And of course, any time a Tirthankar takes Diksha, the Indras, the people from Devlok, the various gods come down and bless this occasion. And he does the Panch Mushti Loch, which is a handful with his 5 fingers, which is Panch Mushti, with the 5 fingers. He pulls his hair out. It's a moment of great it's Diksha Kalyanak, and it is a moment of great celebration, because here is a Tirthankar who is about to establish a new path for the communities to follow. However, this story is not about Arishtanemi. This story is about Rathnemi. So Rathnemi was Arishtanemi's brother. Now, the story is also about Rajmati. In fact, the story is more about Rajmati than it is about Arishtanemi or about Rathnemi. Because here it was one woman and 2 men. Yeah, this is the story about one woman and 2 men. So Rajmati, on hearing that Prince Arishtanemi has gone to be an ascetic, basically passes out. She's obviously extremely upset. She's lamenting he's going away. And then also she realizes, and again, this was a nimit in her life, that this event happened and it became a nimit for her, but her upadan, which is her inner preparedness was already there. So she then realizes that actually, you know what, he's right, and I do not want to live this worldly life. So she also proceeds to take Diksha. But here we come to Rathnemi. Now, this is a very interesting thing, and I've actually put it here because I wanted you to hear what happened. So Rathnemi was very pleased to learn that his brother had refused Rajmati because, as I mentioned, her beauty was renowned in all the land. And Rathnemi was a bit jealous of his brother that, how could he get such a beautiful wife? Actually, I would have preferred her to be my wife. So he says, it increases my chances of marrying her. So he sends his maid to sing praises to her. He starts courting her, sending her lots of gifts. And, in modern day, we would send roses and flowers. I guess in those times, they were not doing that. They were, sending jewelry and stuff to her. And Rajmati realizes this, and she asks maid to send Rathnemi personally to get the answer from her that whether she is accepting his advances or not. And she also added that he should bring his favorite drink with him. Now, why would she ask that? And this is the next story. So Rajmati, as soon as Rathnemi comes, Rajmati drank the drink with some medicine and then vomited. She then put the vomit in another cup and asked him to drink it. And Rathnemi says, Rajmati, to ask such a thing is an insult to a nobleman like me. How? Do you regard me as a dog or a crow that you think I would drink the vomit? Dogs sometimes when they're very hungry will eat anything, or crows will go into rubbish and eat all kinds of rubbish. So this is the analogy that Rathnemi was using. So Rajmati says, I'm just testing your love, my dear. So Rathnemi says, is this a proper way to test it? There are many other methods you could have asked me. You could have asked me to jump from the balcony and I would have jumped from you. Or you could have asked me to, go and do some hunting for you and I would have done that. So Rajmati says, if you had drunk it at my command, I would know that you are truly in love with me. After all, this is the same liquid that you brought for me. I just swallowed it, but vomited it before it reached my stomach. So basically what she did was, that's what she did. Rathnemi says, it makes no difference. After all, it is vomit. So then Rajmati says, why is it so difficult for it to be drunk by the person who wants to marry me? If you are in love with me, you should be able to accept whatever, whatever I tell you to do, and similarly, I would do whatever you tell me to do. So then Ratnemi says, what in the world does marriage have to do with vomiting? And Rajmati then says that just the same way that I have been vomited by your brother, and she's alluding to the fact that they were about to get married and then he turns away. Similarly, why are you intent on pursuing worldly pleasures when your brother has left this worldly life or ascetic life? I'm about to do the same. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, and therefore, you are basically using a discarded. You would never use a discarded. If you are a nobleman, if you are from good birth, you would never use a discarded, whether it is a discarded clothing item or a discarded anything, And why are you intent after me? Ratnemi apologized and also became an ascetic. But this is not the end of the story. So my question is, why did Rajul give vomit to drink to Ratnemi? Now, I've told you the answer why she did it, but what was her thinking behind it? Anyone? What do you think it was?
Was it to teach him a lesson? But that's what you said just now.
Yes, that's partly correct. Anyone else?
Was that at a superficial level? Was that just a test of his love?
Test of his love? No, I don't think so, because she knew that when somebody, the thing is that love has got different definitions, and I think Rajul was quite intelligent to realize that this love that he was expressing was superficial in the first place.
That's exactly what I meant, that she knew this was a more physical and superficial love and not any deeper than that.
Yeah, I mean, yes, that is perhaps, it was more of a lust as opposed to sincere love. Yes, you are right there. Yes, yes. Anybody else? There's still more to it. No? So the reason why she gave him this vomit to drink was that she wanted, obviously, to make him realize that his role, because she knew that although Ratnemi appeared very lustful and appeared worldly, and he was always interested in worldly matters, she knew that deep down there was something within him that would also move him to purify his soul. And so she became his nimit, in the sense that she became the cause for his realization as well. And she was using the vomit as a symbol to show that in this world, everything that we have, everything that we possess is temporary. It is when you say used, what I mean by used is that it as soon as you get it, it's fresh, but the minute you possess it, it becomes not fresh. It becomes secondhand. Like you buy a car and the car looks brand new, shining in the showroom, and the minute you drive it out of the showroom and you're going along the road and somebody comes along and maybe even skids or scuffs it on the side, it ceases to be new. It becomes secondhand. And even if people don't even do anything to it, still becomes secondhand. And what she was trying to tell him was that everything in this world becomes second-hand. It is so temporary that there is no point in lusting after a body. Just because I'm beautiful now, I will not be beautiful, say, 20 years down the road. And that is a lesson she was trying to teach him. However, did he learn his lesson? I'm not so sure. So soon after, Aristonemi was formally initiated as a monk under severe penance, and Aristonemi attained Keval Gnan and established a new Tirth. Rajmati, who had, though not without initial opposition from her parents, remained single, was then initiated into the order of a nun with her many companions. So she also had a realization from within that I want to be a nun, that this is what I was meant to be. And at the end of this thing, I want you to listen. I'm going to try and see if I can share a YouTube stavan with you guys. If you just please bear with me, because it really is very, very nice. So this picture, which is really beautiful, is showing the whole process of the wedding, the actual people going to greet him, the initial proposal, and obviously him going into the mountains to become an ascetic. A very nicely done picture. So one day, the nun Rajmati was on her way to listen to Neminath Prabhu's sermon on Girnar, and it started to rain. And she got thoroughly soaked. And so she sought shelter in a cave nearby. Now it was dark in the cave, and she removed her clothes to dry them. Unknown to her, Ratnemi was meditating, and he saw her when there was a bolt of lightning. And now, so, now this is where I wanted to talk about the Gunasthanaks. So at the fourth Gunasthanak, basically we have an inkling of where we want to go further in our spiritual progress, right? We have a bit of an idea within ourselves that I am not the body, I am a soul. And then you start taking partial vows at the fifth level, and then you take full vows at the sixth level. Now, at the sixth level, which is a sixth Gunasthanak, basically you've taken the vows, but what happens is that you still have certain rag and dvesh within you. So although the vows are there, those are just vows that you have taken. It's like saying that I will, stop. Some people take vows that I will not eat whatever kind of food that they're not going to eat. But that doesn't mean that within yourself you don't desire it. And the same thing happens when you take these vows without inner conviction. So Ratnemi says to Rajmati, because she realizes he's there, and of course she quickly draped the sari back on. I'm Ratnemi who loves you. It is a solitary place and a golden opportunity has arrived. Let us not lose it. What does he mean? He says that this Manushya Bhav is Durlabh. Durlabh means it's a rare opportunity. And we should make the most of Manushya Bhav by enjoying it. So Ratnemi explained, although I'm a monk, I'm still restless to have you. My only desire is to have you. Penance and spiritual practice lose their importance in your presence, Rajmati. So again, he is wavering from his path. So Rajul says, you should be firm on your vows. Don't you remember your vows? And Ratnemi says, yes, of course I do. But who can see us here? And who's going to know in any case if we get up to something? And Rajul says, ask your own soul. Would it not be committing a sin secretly? And Ratnemi says, if you don't want us to do it secretly, we can get married and later on in old age become monk and nun. So Rajul reminds him of that vomit that she gave him. Why didn't you drink that liquid you brought for me? Ratnemi says, because it was a vomit. Rajul says, would you drink your own vomit? She says, you left sensual desires behind you when you were initiated, and now you want to get them back? Did you put any condition at that time? You are the grandson of Vrishni and the younger brother of Arishthanemi. One born in such a noble family would immolate himself rather than accept the vomit. You should stick to your vows and try to keep your ideas pure. Now, look at this situation, right? There is Arishthanemi who had Rajul but didn't want, who left the world and tried to find himself, or basically establish a tirth. You have Rajul or Rajamati, who was a very powerful, extremely intelligent woman, very beautiful, but who also knew that everything in this world is transitory. And she is actually giving instruction to Ratnemi. So she is effectively become like his guru. She is actually taking him on the path of salvation. So you never know in your life who will come along at any point in your life to guide you. Okay, we might say Nimit and Upadan. Yes, Rajul no Upadan tayar hatu. So she, this whole marriage with Arishthanemi or Neminath Prabhu was basically a nimit to trigger that whole process. Ratnemi Nupadan also tayar hase etlene Rajul mairi. Of course, he is still wavering, but at the end of the day, she is acting as his guru to tell him that stop moving away from your path, walk back onto your path. This is the path you've chosen. You cannot now start to pretend and say, okay, nobody's seeing us, so we can do whatever we like. That is not the point of taking the vows that you have taken. So Ratnemi, moved by Rajumati's words, realized his mistake and again became engrossed in spiritual practices. Rajumati went to Arishthanemi, listened to his sermon, undertook severe austerities, and attained emancipation at the end. Now, this tale of Neminath and Rajul has been subject of a multitude of hymns, including Sajai and Stavans. It's a very, very inspiring story. Neminath Prabhu nui potani akhi previous life ni story where he was a prince and he was still practicing a lot of ahimsa in that life, and how he fell in love with this princess, and he loved her so much, and he was asking a Muniraj that why do I love her so much? And the Muniraj says that you will be together for at least 6 lives. So then Neminath in his previous avatar, Shank, he was called Shank in his previous avatar, actually asked that when will I stop loving her? And he says, when you are born as Neminath and she will be born as Rajul, and that is when you will realize the true reason why you are being born again, why you need to cut your worldly ties. And she will also realize the same. Extremely inspiring. Lots of plays have been done on Neminath and Rajul. As I said, a lot of hymns and sajais and stavans have been sung, and a very inspiring story, but a lot to learn. So, the learning from here is what I would like to know from you. What do you think the true lesson of this story is? I've told you so much, but I wanted for you all, and please, I want you to let me know what your story is. Otherwise, I will ask questions to individuals on this list.
There's one aspect that was fascinating in the sense that when Neminath Bhagwan turned back from the wedding, there's an element of pragmatism there, i.e., it is better to do something that is good, even if it hurts someone else. Because it's plus and minus. It's not never so black and white that when you do good, it's always good.
Yes, you are right. Absolutely. And I think if you look at all that, when you look at Mahavir Swami's life, right? He was married, he had a child, and yet he leaves his wife and child behind. So there was obviously hurt involved there as well. But at the end of the day, at some point in your life, when you are considerate of others and you don't want to hurt them, at the same time, if you within yourself are not happy, or you within yourself feel that you are seeking something which is not there in the world you are living in, then you need to take that action and move on. But you are right, absolutely. Anybody else?
Nothing is permanent. Everything is temporary.
Yes, but that we all know, and yet we seem to hold on to this world as if it's going to be there forever. All the things, all the people, all our loved ones, we seem to hold them on, and we seem to think that that's going to be with you forever.
But it's the lessons that we learn from them.
Yeah, absolutely. So nothing in this world is permanent. You are absolutely right. Anybody else?
In the beginning, when Arishtanemi turns back, that's because of Hinsa. So that's teaching you Ahimsa.
Yes. So, but it is teaching you Ahimsa, but obviously he did Hinsa in the sense that he hurt Rajumati. He hurt, she was upset.
Yeah.
He hurt, obviously his parents must have been upset, and everybody else. But I think that that hurt of the human beings was less than the hinsa that would have been committed if he had gone ahead.
Yeah, on a big
with
scale.
Animals and birds. Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else? Harsha?
I feel the lesson that we learn is focus. So Rathnemi, he had he took up an ascetic life, and even after Rajumati also became a nun, yet he got astray from his path. So he should have stayed focused on the path.
Yes. Yeah, so you are right, absolutely. In fact, that's a very good observation, because when you set a goal for yourself, and there are lots of things which come along the way which take you away from your goal, and at times we get like distracted or diverted, and if we are not focused on the goal, then we will never achieve that goal. Or if we don't have that inner conviction that this is the goal I want to achieve. Absolutely. Anybody else? Purvi?
Oh no, I spoke about the focus.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, that's
Chandni?
Fine. My thinking is when the Jan goes and all these animals were captured for feeding all the people in the Jan. Similarly, these days, when we have weddings and how much money money is spent cooking stuff, we do Ratri Bhojan, we do Batetanu Shak, and these are all against the Jain principles, very similar to having animals. Like we use Kanmur, like for the weddings and things. And from this, you think that, these are aram samaram, so much himsa is done, and it could be very simply done. That's my feeling. I mean, just gives you that.
But the thing is that we live in a, yeah, you are absolutely right. I mean, there always is, there's always this issue about, display of wealth, of hedonism, of consumption, all of that. And you are absolutely right. But at the same time, you know, in this world, we cannot avoid hinsa, right? Especially if you live in this world, whether even if you're walking from work, when you're driving, no one has control over their thoughts. So, even if you externally, physically are not doing any violence, in your mind, you could be doing violence. And this happens to all of us. And all the social media, because we are using all our five senses and we are absorbing information from all the five senses, whether it is talking to people or watching television or I don't know, whatever else we all do. The thing is that if you are living in this world, you cannot avoid hinsa, but the thing is to try and have that vivek, that absolute thing of discernment. Okay, where do I draw a line? If, for example, you are told to eat garlic because for health reasons, say you've got a heart issue or something, and people say that it's good to eat garlic, then you would start eating garlic. But at the same time, you would perhaps consume medication. Now, you again do not know, how the medication was arrived at, whether there was a lot of animal testing or not. But for the sake of your well-being, you will consume it, and you will even encourage other people in your family to consume if they were prescribed medication for various ailments. So it's a very difficult thing to say. But I think in your mind, you need to be very clear as to where you want to draw a line and where you want to say that, okay, mare anya hinsa nathi karvi. Neminath Prabhu, you think that he didn't know that when he left his house, that animals hase ke nahi hoy? Of course he knew, because he must have known that in any family market, the family which is coming or whoever the guests who are invited, that they are consumers of meat. He wanted to show an example to the world that, look, this whole thing is wrong. When you sacrifice, whether you sacrifice animals as part of a religious ritual, or where you sacrifice animals as part of wedding ceremony, or for consumption of food, or for any other reasons, whether it is to do hard labor or anything, you need to have the discerning power, because our badha jivo, our panchendriya jivo, they can feel the pain, they can understand what's happening. There is this whole thing about consuming milk and the fact how the dairy cows are treated. There is a whole thing about, there's so many other areas that one can use one's discernment and make a decision for oneself as to where they want to draw a line.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else? So let me just sort of just briefly tell you about Uttaradiyan Sutra. So all these points of ascetic life, whether you talk about Neminath Prabhu, Mrugaputra, Sanjay Rathnemi, Jaya Vijay Ghosh, they all suggest that good life or ascetic life accrues from the previous good karma, that one must think and act good in all the times. It also tells us that profession should not be taken as birthright. They depend upon your training and activity. Professions means, when I talk about professions, in that time there was jati. So depending on what you are doing, it was the caste system. And this idea has been one of the most progressive one during old days. A chapter tells us a story of an ascetic who is not given the due regards by the higher caste people. Later on, his sermons yield him the credit. Mahavir says that asceticism can be cultivated without any restrictions of caste or creed, and this is the basis of universality of the religion. But more importantly, when you look at this story, the person with tremendous strength who comes through is Rajul. So here, there is again this absolute tremendous importance given to women and their contribution to society. And this is the other thing that Mahavir Swami did for women at that time, because previously they were treated like chattel. And he said that absolutely not. They are souls as well, and they are capable of salvation. So I wanted to end here. Are there any questions before I share this particular stavan? If I'm going to, I don't know if I will be able to. Any questions?
Just a comment. Through the talks, I was struck by this whole Nimit thing. But actually, if you go back to every single Tirthankar, there's always been an incident that triggers their conversion. As you say, Buddha Bhagwan, Mahavir Bhagwan, Neminath, and hadn't realized actually that every single Tirthankar and even Kevli has always had a trigger that takes them to take that step.
Yeah, absolutely. Although having said that, the trigger can only work if your upadan is there. So if you are internally ready, if your soul has evolved so much spiritually, then the trigger will work for the betterment of your sort of self-realization. If there is, for example, Mahavir Swami knew original Nimit was what? In the Bhav of Naisar, when he was sitting in this woodland, and he just thought that I would like to share my food, and he shares his food with who? With some Sadhu Maharaj. And that Nimit at that point was a Sadhu Maharaj sermon which they gave him. And that was like a seed which had been sown in him. And that gradually evolved. The seed grew into a massive tree within himself. And when he became Mahavir, and that is when a certain triggers happen, and things do. Neminath Prabhu's trigger was the animals, but I think he had already made a decision, or at some stage, he would have actually become an ascetic, even if there was no animals. The point is, the animals are a demonstration to the world or to the society at that time that look, animal sacrifices, treating animals as if they are of no importance to you, is not very conducive. And as we've seen in today's world with the environmental problems that we are having, that this total disregard for the earth is having its consequences on all of us. So, Mahavir Swami was right in that respect. But you are right, absolutely. There comes a point in your life, if you are, tamaru avron hoy tamara atma upar, that which avron means basically karma no whatever. I hoy tamara upar, but jare eનું ક્ષયક્ષમ થાય. So basically your atma is revealed in its full glory, and then you need that nimit to make it more permanent, and then you start moving on that path, saying, okay, I'm going to leave this world, I'm going to find myself, and then in the case of Neminath Prabhu or Mahavir Swami, established the Tirth. Okay, there was a comment. Yeah, absolutely. Parul Ben is saying that we are always learning. Right. Before Jitendra Bhai, do we have time?
Yes, if everyone's okay with that, we've Still got time, yeah.
I just wanted you to listen to this tavan. I'm going to start sharing. Sorry, ignore the ad.
Sandeep, I don't think we can listen. We can't hear anything.
We're not hearing anything.
Yeah. Sandeep, we can't hear any sound. I think there wasn't any sound, Sandeep. You can put there's a volume button.
Oh, sorry.
There's a volume button on the. Yeah.
On.
Now it should work, I think. If you,
Oh gosh, sorry.
there's a, now it should work. Yeah. You can go back, I guess, and do it again.
No, it's okay. We'll just continue from here. Sorry about that.
Still can't hear anything, Sandeep.
I think it's on mute. It's on mute. Yeah, just press the.
So could you hear that?
No.
Okay. Anyway, so basically that was it. I just wanted you to get a gist of the extent to which this whole story of Nem and Rajul has been narrated in Jain psyche. A lot of stavans, a lot of poems, a lot of plays have been written on that. But this story is about Rathnemi, but importantly, it is about Rajul. Yeah. So thank you everyone. Ane michhami dukram kai marathi bolanu hoy ke kai kevanu hoy, which Jain dharma ne virodh ke kai marathi kevanu hoy to michhami dukram. Ane thank you for being patient and listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandeep. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. Really enjoyable session today. I think everybody thoroughly enjoyed it. And some of these topics are so interesting. I mean, we've been through a whole term of all these lectures now, and I'm sure we've learnt bits from each one. Today's the last one. We will have a 3-week break from today. So we will resume back in April, middle of April. We will send you WhatsApp messages or email messages to tell you when the next term will start. But I think that's about it. So I hope you all have a wonderful break. Before we finish, does anybody want to do the Manglik prayer? Anyone?
I can do it.
Oh yes, sure. Sandeep, wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. Please close your eyes. Chattari mangalam, arihanta mangalam, siddha mangalam, sahu mangalam, kevali panato dhammo mangalam, chattari loguttama, arihanta loguttama, siddha loguttama, sahu loguttama, kevali pannato dhammo loguttamo, chattari saranam pavachami, arihante saranam pavachami, siddhe saranam pavachami, sahu saranam pavachami, kevali pannatam dhammam saranam pavachami. Upsargakshayam yanti chidyante vignavalaya mana prashannatamiti pujyamane jineshware. Sarva mangalam mangalyam sarva kalyana karanam pradhanam sarva dharmanam jainam jeti shasanam. Bhave bhavana bhavye bhave dije dan bhave dharma radhe bhave pada nirvan bhave keval gnan. Om shanti shanti.
Thank you so much, Sandeep, once again. So we hopefully see you all again in 3 weeks' time. So enjoy the break and Jai Janendra, everyone. Unless Sandeep has got any other messages.
No, thank you everyone for being patient with me. Thank you.
I know it was really good. Thank you all. Good night.
Bye.